Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the challenge battles. Apologies, there were little bugs in the technical production. And don't know if we got rid of them entirely, but we try to. So we are actually ready for draft number 2 of this game. Let's jump right into the draft, and hopefully things are going well.
The draft begins.
All right, there we go. Teams are drafting. Lemon and Lime is leading this best of 5 series 1-0, and they have now the first ban to make. And Rising Lotus here, of course it's just game 1. I mean, you need 3 wins to take this series. Let's see if they are here. See a couple of things going on with the connection from the players, but we have some bonus time, and actually we had word from both teams that they are actually doing well in terms of the draft, so they should be able to get out the first ban as soon as possible. Fortress, there we go.
Not too much of a surprise, let's be. Fortress has risen in popularity in VGA over the past few weeks, and I can imagine he's going to be a stay banned for a fair while now, and I can imagine Adagio might be taken off the table here. I can imagine. I'm not entirely sure. Tasty, what are your thoughts on this kind of not banning away the Adagio first?
I mean, obviously Lemon and Lime just showed that they were able to deal with the Adagio. He did receive some nerfs to this patch, but still a very strong pick, and still Lemon and Lime, they're going to go ahead and first pick it away from the side of Rising Lotus.
Well, okay, that makes a lot of sense there. I think Blueberries, yeah, definitely, like, the Adagio is still going to be quite prominent, but will it remain this kind of top priority ban? Because we're seeing it more picked now than we are seeing it banned, which is also quite interesting.
Absolutely. And now we see actually Rising Lotus banning that Lance, which they actually picked in game number 1. So that's going to be interesting in terms of the strategy, what they want to approach here. Again, we don't see a Glaive in this game number 2 of this best of 5 series. Again, banned, this time not by Lemon and Lime, but by Rising Lotus.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, the Lance one's a bit of a strange one to me. I mean, it is such a strong hero right now, if not one of the strongest, alongside someone like a Glaive, it's argued maybe. But taking it off the table isn't such a bad thing. If you don't want to pick it up, if you're going for a specific composition, I mean, banning it away is just the obvious choice.
Yeah, most likely. So now Rising Lotus here looking to complete their picks with a second pick. I'm very excited to see what they come up with, to be honest. It's a Black Feather. Alright, that's going to be interesting. Last match played by Lemon and Lime was actually a really good performance. I like that now on the side of Rising Lotus.
Yeah, Mr. K Cool. Maybe they just want to show Mr. K Cool up and say, hang on a minute, you played it fairly well, but hang on a second. Let's give it a go as well. Because it's been proven to be a fairly decent pick, and it hasn't got the worst win rate, put it that way. It hasn't got the worst win rate at all. You can't really look to win rates anyway, but Mr. K Cool, you know, he is very prominent on it. So maybe it's more of a power pick away from him rather than kind of a just to pick up because it's so strong.
Absolutely. So Rona has the premiere here, the debut for the challenge battles of split number 1 being picked for the first time. And they are actually going to round that one up with a third pick. Really excited to see how this is going to turn out. I think the Adagio and Rona makes a lot of sense. Turn off, you know, synergy in team fights and how to utilize the hero's abilities. They have almost a minute bonus time here to think about the decision for the third pack. Joss, what do you would like to see here?
Honestly, there's loads of things you can go because the Adagio is quite an obvious pick up, right? You pick it up and there's a lot of things you can kind of work well with that. He's very good at healing. You know, he can go into the captain role. He can flex, and his ability to create a lot of space as well is there. And with the Rona and the Red Mist, that is also something that's like insanely important to think about. They create so much space with the Verse plus the Red Mist that it's going to be very hard for you to actually get on top of the Adagio. So you could round this composition out with literally anything, I think. Anything to work.
And they're going for the Catherine, as we see here. That's going to be interesting. Maybe we will see a very early finalization of the alternating current on Adagio as well. But first of all, Rising Lotus is going to complete their composition here. They have tons of bonus time left. Bacon, you know, looking at this composition, we have Adagio, Rona, and Catherine on the side from Lemon and Lime. Rising Lotus, they have Lyra and Blackfeather. I wanted to ask you, but they made the answer first. Do you agree with putting a Sky here into Rising Lotus lineup?
The Sky is going to be interesting. It does leave it open. They can go weapon or crystal with either the Sky or the Blackfeather. Sky hasn't really had the greatest of win rates in Vainglory 8 over the current season, but it's still a pick that can do very well if played properly. And obviously Rising Lotus, they're gonna be looking to play it properly and try and pick up the win. I think they just wanted some way to get another on-demand, or a way to get a stun for that Rona for when she starts using the red mist. If you can't stop the red mist or get away from the red mist, then you're going to be in for a long game.
All right, well, that being said, we are loading onto the Fold here. I'm hyped for this game. I think Lemon and Lime can put out a great show. The question is, how big can the show of Rising Lotus be here in this best of 5 series? We are on the Fold. We are here going into game number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show with Tasty Bacon and Jaws. Gentlemen, take it away.
What a show it's been, and I'm sure it will be a show for the next. Hopefully, we go to 5 games. We'll have to wait and see. But Lemon and Lime, they are coming out the gate fairly strong. And what better way, maybe, to solidify this game to victory than having your head beaten in by a bunny on Rona?
Well,
it's a funny skin, man. You can't deny it.
It's such a good skin, though, at the same time. But we'll see if they can make it work. Agony on the Sky. Like I said, Sky hasn't had much success. It's actually currently sitting at 2 out of 16 games.
Oh man,
Sky in Vainglory 8 have been victories. So Rising Lotus definitely have their work cut out for them here, especially because you don't want to go down 2-0 in a best of 5 with your Vainglory 8 life on the line.
Yeah, it puts you under a lot of pressure being in that situation. But as someone who likes playing Sky, I am quite sad to see those stats. I'm not going to lie to you, Tasty. I know you're the stat guy and you have to bring him up, but, you know, I don't like seeing it. Mr. K cool, though. Hang on a minute. You have to be very careful there, buddy. Agony takes the first kill. And that fella's going to have to sprint away or more or less walk the way at this point. No boots on him just yet. A stun comes through from Ghost. That Sigil not being able to finish off the kill. That's going to be an early advantage over to Rising Lotus there. They are going to be able to take out Mr. K Cool. And it's going to go on to Agony as well. And that Crystal Power, when that does get ramped up, Sky can just be such a nuisance to deal with. And Rising Lotus already see just pushing their way, using that advantage to such great effect. They're actually just going to take away that camp as well. And Agony is off to a very, very good start.
Yeah, and most of the Skies that we did see in Vainglory 8 were actually going down the weapon path. So I like seeing the Crystal Sky. I think the Crystal Sky is stronger than weapon. And Agony definitely getting off to a good start for this game number 2. And that's a very good sign for Rising Lotus. But now Lure,
maybe in a little bit of trouble. Does get a little bit of shielding. Obviously, he's going to back away without too much of an issue. Lua is going to just continue on poking. Look how crazy he's playing, by the way. Just literally walking up to all 3 like, yeah, whatever. I know I've got Hell's Devil here to back me up. It's not too much of a problem. With Rising Lotus's lead as well, you mentioned, and Crystal, let's be fair, Crystal Sky is the most fun to play because she does the most damage with the forward cannon. And it is hilarious because you just walk up to people, literally walk forwards and just gun them down. Most fun way to play.
It's like a barrage or something.
Oh, some sort of barrage. Forward barrage. The Gatling guns, come on. Mowing people down. But no, Lemon and Lime are getting mowed down right now. Hell's Devil just making sure he can push that wave in. Lua is going to be able to get a back off as well fairly early. And do you think we're going to see the same kind of itemization out of the Blackfeather this game?
I would like to. Because you have that Adagio on the side of Lemon and Lime, I feel like getting that Poison Shiv is just such a strong tool into these healers. I wouldn't be surprised if Apfel ends up going for one as well on the Rona, although you're not spending as much time using your basic attacks on the Rona, but it still can be very useful. We are going to see at least Apfel going into that lifesteal early on, but could still go into the Serpent's Mask. You don't really know until it gets finished. Lure opted to go for more flat damage in the lane, so going to be a little bit of difference in play styles for the next couple minutes or so.
Yeah, he's got that Book of Eulogies, so he's going to be able to sustain up fairly nicely. But yeah, Apfel just making sure he can kind of survive this laning phase, because Hell's Devil and Lure, they do have a lot of poke damage. That's what we've got to keep in mind, right? And they will easily be able to poke him out. Even if Ghost is there, Ghost obviously needs to be able to close the gap to get a stun. And so, yeah, you can see Apfel there just kind of taking quite a bit of a beating, and Ghost not really able to do much either. So I kind of agree with that. I mean, getting the sustain, 100% worth it in the early stages, but Apfel is going to be a mean source of damage when he can get his items.
And I do find it just kind of interesting. It doesn't really have any bearing on the game or have any real, there's not really any conclusions you can draw from it. But game one, actually, hold on, Agony going to be in trouble.
Hang on a minute, yeah, Agony getting jumped on, in a little bit of trouble. Black Borg is going to come down. The forward barrage does do a little bit of damage. Lemon and Lime are just going to disengage. That Gold Miner actually doing a lot of work to Apfel. He's going to have to back off quite sharpish, but does pop a potion as well, so he should be all good to go back into the lane. And Lure, yet again, just pushing this wave in. A very, very nice CS lead as well.
And that's one of the benefits of just shoving in the lane. Of course, the CS lead is going to diminish quite a bit as Apfel farms up this next wave or two, but it is... The point I was going to say before is just that it was interesting. In game number one, we had the two crystal laners with Adagio being in the lane and Blackfeather being weapon power out of the jungle. And now in game two, we have two weapon power laners with Blackfeather being weapon power in the lane and the crystal power Adagio being down in the jungle. So just the difference in play styles coming through again for these two teams.
Yeah, massive mix-up. They just wanted to confuse us, let's be fair. Let's not lie to ourselves, Tasty. They just want to confuse us. That's what they're here for. They're to confuse us during the draft and then just pull out something crazy. I do like Mr. K Cool in the jungle position, though, using this Adagio. I think it can work fairly well because he doesn't have the strongest laning, but like as soon as he gets his items, his alternating kite, for example, he can just be a menace to deal with, and just making sure he can get to that safely is fairly easily.
At the same time, it ends up coming out a little bit later because you don't get as much gold out of the jungle as you do in the lane, so it's a bit of a trade-off. The safety of being able to farm, you get the levels faster out of the jungle typically, but you don't get as much gold, which is why we actually have been seeing the weapon power laners in the lane, or weapon power carries in the lane, and the crystal power in the jungle, specifically because of those. Usually a lot of the crystal heroes, they scale really well with their levels, with leveling up those abilities, whereas the weapon power heroes are mostly just looking for the items.
You aren't half wrong, and with Riding Lotus, they're looking pretty strong right now. Items across the board, obviously Fountain Finish, Serpent's Mask, and the Frostburn for Agony, looking very, very good right now. Ghost hasn't actually finished that Fountain all too yet, and there's no stage 3 item here for Mr. K Cool either, neither's for Apfel. So Rising Lotus, they're definitely in a firm commanding position right now. I'm actually quite surprised they didn't try and look for a fight here, knowing they've got that slight advantage.
Well, the items are going to come out. I was going to say Apfel really keeping us guessing. Had 3 different tier 2 components, could have gone into either the Breaking Point, the Serpent's Mask, or a Poison Shiv as the first item. Ends up going for the Serpent's Mask. Mr. K Cool also gets the Alternate Curtain. Here we go.
Ooh, they're going to start a fight. Red Mist is going to chew through Lure. Does manage to sustain it, though, without too much of a problem. Hell's Devil he's going to have to pop that Fountain just to make sure he survives that one. Agony, that forward barrage is doing a fair bit of work, and when Lemon and Lime are clumped up like that, they can take a lot of damage. Ghost receiving quite a bit of that. Apfel is going to jump forward. Red Mist yet again onto 3 people. Mr. K Cool as well, jumping forward. Had to be very, very careful. Almost falls, and Lure's going to have to disengage. Right Bulwark definitely helping him out. Ghost, yep, pop those boots. Gonna have to run away. Agony with a lot of mobility, but another re-engage maybe. Lemon and Lime, they still want something here, Tasty. Rising Lotus doing a fantastic job of disengaging over and over again, but it's the sustain war right now. Apfel popping the Red Mist once more, jumps on Hell's Devils, almost goes down. Sigil kills him, not going to be enough as Ghost just points him with the blade, says not today, takes him down.
And this is a result of both teams having an incredible amount of sustain. That fight went on for so long, but Lure actually finds a kill.
Oh, Mr. K, cool. Jumped a little bit too far forward. Agony shows Ghost's where to go. Straight back to your base, son. Fel's going to have to sprint away. Will he be able to twirl him? No! Oh, Death from above comes down. He wants to turn it around. He's trapped. He's trapped between Death from above and two members of Rising Lotus. Ends up falling. Really nice placement there from Agony. Actually just surrendering. Basically just making sure Aphel surrenders his own life because he goes and gets stunned and instantly dies or tries to take someone with him. And that will be Rising Lotus taking a few kills there off Lemon and Lime.
Not only getting those kills, but also getting a nice gold lead now. They haven't gotten the turret, which is going to be probably their next target after they get a little bit more under their belt. That's going to be a breaking point. So the more traditional Black Feather build coming out of Lure, but these two teams definitely going at it early here in game number 2. Big fight ends up going in Rising Lotus's favor. Can they keep that momentum on their side?
Yeah, I mean, they have proved that recently in VGA. If they have got the momentum on their side, they can win out games without an issue. It's just normally their early game is just kind of crushed by some of the other teams in the VGA, which is one of their main problems. So as soon as they get this kind of lead, I can imagine they're going to be able to push it forward. But Lemon and Lime, they have made so many good comebacks in VGL so far, and they have been so dominant as well. Already a game up, obviously, and Avo taking a lot of damage here. And Rising Lotus, they will push on to this turret, and oh, Agony just snipes him out. Apfel just being a little bit too aggressive there, I think, Tasty. Lua is going to jump on this one. Ghost, not too much damage to his name. He's going to have to surrender that turret's HP. Rising Lotus is standing up here, and I can imagine this is going to be first turret down very, very soon.
Yeah, they're just looking to keep pushing in on this. Mr. Keiko's doing a good job of keeping the waves off the turret so that Rising Lotus can't get too much damage down, but just getting a little bit of chip damage with every single wave. Eventually that builds up.
Does indeed. Agony doing a lot of that chip damage with the 4 Barrage. Crystal Power, my favorite. See, I told you, man. You just walk towards people and they just melt. It's great.
Oh, I love, like I said, I completely agree with you. I feel like the Crystal Power build for Sky, and I'm really glad to see it work 0-1. I'm also really glad you mentioned like that Rising Lotus can sometimes struggle in the early game, and you then kind of turn it on and become much stronger as the game goes on. It's almost like a microcosm of their season thus far through the first split. So the first 2 weeks were really rough, taking straight losses, but then all of a sudden week number 3, they make it all the way to the finals. And then week number 4, the matchup with SK Gaming and take them to 3 games. So they've definitely looked much better the last 2 weeks of the split than they did in the first 2. And they're going to be hoping to keep up that week 3 and 4 level of performance here throughout the rest of this challenge battle.
Most definitely, because they've got the most points in this challenge, in these challenge battles, right? They've got 8 on the line right now. Lemon and Lime, they are looking very strong. I mean, I'm not surprised they went for that higher seeded team just because their performance in VGL has just been incredible. Let's not tell a lie.
With the exception of one game, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll just forget that game, shall we? We'll just forget that one. We you know, Lemon and Lime, you know, we love you. It's all good. Oh, they did try and go for a little engage there, but Agony is going to be able to disengage with Death from above. Not really doing all too much thus far, but that turret, man, that is just getting hounded down, chipped down. Apo goes in with the red mist, does get healed up. He's going to have to block a lot of that damage, but it's not going to be enough because Lua just takes him off the face of the fold, and that will be the turret falling as well. Nice blast tremor just to try and get them away, but it's not going to be all too much damage in the back pocket of Ghost, and that's going to be the big problem there. He needs to be able to use that earlier, I think, Tasty.
Yeah, just hasn't really had much of an opportunity to be able to do so, and the team hasn't really been in a position to go in. You look at the itemization difference. Mr. K-Cool is still sitting on just the alternating current, whereas Agony has gotten a Frostburn and a Broken Myth completed. That's a really big difference in terms of the damage when these two teams clash, and that's a big reason of why the side of Rising Lotus are winning here in game number 2, up 6 kills to 1 now. A 3,000 gold lead with that first turret going down, and they can just continue to use this same playstyle. Just push up the lane, put pressure on that turret, siege up, force your opponents to have to play defensively and answer to what you're trying to do.
And that's exactly what they're trying to do now. They're trying to make sure they know where Lemon and Lime are, forcing them to this lane to deal with this wave, as Rising Lotus are going to get some vision down, and they are just going to roam into this jungle. Hell's Devil might be a little bit caught out here, does get stunned up, is going to be able to use the passageway to get away. That was very, very close, split up from the rest of his team, and very, very lucky he didn't actually get fully punished there. Ghost, you know, he's been stacking up that armor, has got 14 stacks on him thus far. Not all too much for this point of the game, though, Tasty. That's about a stack a minute at this current time. Just not been able to kind of get the engages because, yet again, there's a lot of disengage coming out from the Rising Lotus squad.
Yeah, it's been tough, and the 14-1 a minute isn't terrible, but it's still not great. A lot of professional players will tell you that for having a good game on Catherine, you want to be sitting at about 2 stacks a minute picked up. And I think another big part of that has been, like you said, the blast tremors not really being able to come out too often. When you can get those onto 3 members, that gets your stacks up pretty quickly. But it's the fights just haven't been lasting as long as I feel like Lemon and Lime are hoping that they would, and are going to be trying to make them, as now Mr. Keiko with the Broken Myth going to be able to stack up. Still definitely behind Agony in terms of itemization, but will be able to compete now at least.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing here. Lemon and Lime just making sure they can compete with Rising Lotus's damage and their defensive capabilities as well. And maybe Ghost just kind of needs to use the Blast Tremor a little bit more proactively to kind of engage the fights, make sure Hell's Devil cannot get a good disengage off, and then engage with the Red Mist, plus obviously the speed up as well from something like War Treads maybe. So maybe Ghost needs to kind of itemize towards War Treads a little bit better, or sooner at least, just to make sure they can get on top of people like Agony and Alert.
It looks like it should be the next item completed actually has both of the components for it. But again, in terms of the itemization, there's War Treads actually completed.
Oh, there you go. All right, I'll take that back.
But it is still an item lead across the board. You look at everyone as an individual compared to their counterpart, and there is an advantage on the side of Rising Lotus. But here we go.
We're going in again. Does look like they're going to be a disengage. Nice stun onto Mr. K. Cool, though he does manage to get out of it without too much of an issue. Apple doing a lot of damage to the back line of Rising Lotus with that Red Mist, but yet again, Rising Lotus good on the disengage. Very, very hot on that trigger, making sure they can reposition themselves. And another thing I want to quickly touch on before another engage happens here, Tasty, is the fact that Burst of Judgment hasn't really been used whatsoever by Mr. K. Cool because he just cannot find a time or place to use it.
And a lot of that is because Mr. Keiko's been playing very defensively because he knows that he's been very far behind in terms of items. And so now that he's got the Broken Myth, I think we might see a little bit more confidence coming out of the Adagio pick, but it is still a full tier 3 behind this guy who now has that Eve of Harvest. So it's still something we'll have to keep our eyes on now. Maybe another skirmish here. Everyone kind of meeting up in the middle.
Ghost looking for it. He's dashing forwards. Does get Agony. The stun's not going to last all too long, though, as Rising Lotus good on the disengage once more. Hell's the Devil. You know, he was fairly low, but he's going to be able to heal up on that sigil. Not an issue in the world. Lemon and Lime still pushing. That Kraken obviously is on the board now here, Tasty. So Rising Lotus, they're going to have to just pucker up and just make sure they can fight Lemon and Lime in this choke point. Blast Tremor does come out. 3 of them silenced. Are they going to be able to disengage, though? The silence just absolutely gets depleted. Death from above comes down. Stuns up 1, stuns up 2. Atbo in a lot of trouble. He's going to go down almost instantly. Burst of Judgment is going to come out. It's going to assassinate Luer. And finally, they do pick up themselves up a kill. Agony is the dash forward, though, as they do trade 1. Ghost ended up falling as well. Atbo not being able to do all too much because Hell's Devils and Agony, yet again, just making sure they can get out of that Red Mist.
Yeah, nice job at least securing the 1-for-1 there by Lemon and Lime. When you're falling behind, getting a team fight to go even is something that you can count as a win for you in that moment. So good news for Lemon and Lime if they can continue to just trade out, get themselves farmed up. Both of these team comps are very similar in terms of what they're trying to do and what their win conditions are. So a lot of it is going to come down to purely just execution. But Lemon and Lime, because they're behind, the longer they can stall this game out, the less the gold differential even matters. Once you have people start getting to full build, they can't really get any stronger. And so, here we go. Nice catch.
Oh, wait. No. Come on, Tasty. Let's be real here. He's got the disengage. It's like, oh, is there a catch? Is Catherine got something? Nice. It's all good. Hell's Devils is there, and Lua's just got the Rose offensive. He can just dart away without too much of a worry. Rising Lotus, though, man, they're on the offensive right now. They need to be looking for these fights. That Kraken is at that prime taking point right now, where if someone does go down for the side of Lemon and Lime, if not two people, they are just going to be able to take it out.
Ghost just went on a trip through the tribe rush to try and scout out any scout traps. Went to the 3 primary locations that scout traps get put in that brush, and walked right around the scout trap that was actually in it. So, didn't get to spot that one out. We'll think that bush is safe for at least a little bit, but there's going to be a poison shiv as a 3rd offensive item for Lure. It's not something we typically see.
It is so hard for Ghost to get the engage after the fact, and Passageway is going to come out. Hell's Devil. Kraken's actually going to get started as well, but Ghost just gets obliterated. Mr. Keiko is going to be the next target for Rising Lotus. Double kill comes through. We're just doing an absolute ton of work right now. Rose offensive over the wall. He is going to be able to chase down Apfel. He's doing a lot of damage back, though, but he is going to get taken out eventually, with Agony picking and securing that one up. And like I said, this is the problem with people dying right now. Those death timers are pretty damn long, and Rising Lotus, they will be able to secure this Kraken.
Not only the Kraken, but the turret is going to go down in lane as well. Lure finishes that one off with some minions. So that is now the 2nd turret down for Rising Lotus. And as you mentioned, going to turn their attention back to this Kraken now. Trying to unleash that, see if they can even up this series at 1 game apiece.
Man, it's so hard. Like, I mentioned it and touched on it very briefly there in that team fight. Ghost, it's very, very hard for him actually to get a stun down, because Agony just kites back before Barrage, and he gets slowed up, and it's just like him wading through treacle just to try to get to someone, like, oh, please, just let me stun somebody, and then the Merciless Pursuit just runs out, and he can't do anything. It's extremely hard for him to do anything against this build that Agony's doing.
And it's also, you know, when you look in the items, Lure is now complete build. There is nothing else that Lure can do except buy infusions. And so it's going to be very, very difficult to double healing items plus a Atlas Pauldron and an Aegis. They take the turret down. Now they can look to try and continue breaking further into this base. Lots of damage coming out.
There's a lot of damage. They're going to jump actually straight onto Mr. K Call in the back line there. Hell's Devils and Agony just pumping out so much damage. Ghost is after, he's going to have to go on the retreat. That Kraken still just chomping on those turrets. And with the amount of poke damage that Agony and Lure do have, it's going to be very hard to get an engagement. Or I say that, Blast Tremor does come out, doesn't really connect whatsoever, as Atfo almost falls. He's going to turn his attention to the Kraken, who does end up taking another turret. And now Atfo does pop the red mist, but no, he's not going to survive for all too long, as Lure takes the kill. This could be Rising Lotus here, just evening the series up 1-for-1. Ghost is going to try and do something, does get the stun onto the Black Feather, but Mr. K go in the black line, just trying to do something, but no, Agony's going to jump on him. He's going to secure the kill. The Vein Crystal's going to go down, and Rising Lotus will take the 2nd game.
Very strong play from Rising Lotus here in game number 2. They got an early lead, and because of the team compositions, because both teams drafted such a similar team as each other, it really just came down to who could get the early lead, and then you'd be able to hold it from there, because once you get ahead, when you're both trying to do the exact same thing, whoever has that advantage is going to be able to hold that advantage as long as they don't make any mistakes. Rising Lotus did not make any mistakes, and they take game number 2 of this best of 5.
And the thing is, Agony didn't even die there. Like, he just completely safe throughout the whole game. There's no way he was going to get jumped on, because, like I said, as soon as you pick up that Frostburn, Catherine's not going to touch you at all. It was I think it was very well drafted here, actually, from Rising Lotus.
All right, well, what a game. Well drafted from Rising Lotus, said Jaws. I kind of agree with that one. Very, very well done. And, well, I have some news. I don't know if they're necessarily good or not, but some technical gods are playing with our minds right now. And there is something called, Bacon and Jaws, it's called automatic update. So, and it is scheduled And that being said, it wanted to force us to do it in a couple of minutes. Well, big shout out to the guys from Windows that we can't change it. Kind of unfortunate. Yeah, and it is good that we finished the game right now, because otherwise we would have run into the auto update, which I tried to change. And I'm not kidding. Like, not normally this is nuts. But yeah, so we have to restart everything and make sure that all things are set for game number 3. Big apologies. We'll make sure to ruffle some ice in the Twitch chat when we're back. No kidding. Let's put a couple of thousand out there. Hopefully you guys bear with us. So yeah, game number 3 happening in a couple of minutes. We have to go offline for approximately 5 minutes.